Hello and welcome to this Innova Systems webinar. My name is Matt Goldwater. Today I'm going to show you how to apply appearances and different display states to be used in PhotoView360. Now this is our last webinar for our design series, so this is part 9. Now within any assembly file we can change any versions of a file by accessing the configurations and different display states. Now display state, unlike a configuration, it isn't dealing with dimensions or whether a component is suppressed. It is purely dealing with the visual properties of a design. This means we can change the appearance of our model, we can hide and show different components, or access the display style and change that between different display states. Now first of all I'm going to create a display state, and this can be achieved by right-clicking and add display state. So the properties of this new display state that we've created is copied from the previously active default display state here. So what we can do is we can rename that. We're just going to rename that external components. Now I want to view my design tree along my configurations manager, so we can do that by going up the top, grabbing the line and dragging down. And this makes it easier for us to make changes within the model. I can also expand my display pane here to access some of the areas where we can change the visual properties of our model. Now the first change I'm going to show you is alternative display styles that this model can do and ways of selecting those components. The first change I'm going to show you is alternate display styles of this model and ways of selecting components. So we can use the selection tool to highlight only the internal components, and that's found at the top here. Select internal components. And that'll highlight them in the feature tree on the left here. If we expand our subassembly, we can see a furthermore that are highlighted. So what we can do with this display state active, we can right click on those and we can select hide. So we can see the difference between these two display states. If I make this one active and apply a cross section, we can see a spring and a few other components inside the model here. If we OK that and we activate the external components display state, once it loads, you'll notice that the spring and a couple of other components have been hidden. So that's the objective we've achieved there. So I'm going to create a new display state. So to do that, we'll make sure our default display state is active, and we'll right click and add display state. We'll rename this one firing pin. Okay, now we can filter out assemblies by using our right mouse button on an assembly component. So if I was to select this component here, which I know is in a subassembly, I can right click and select that subassembly. Now I don't want to hide the subassembly, I want to hide the other components surrounding it. So what we can do is we can right click on the tactical firing pin subassembly and select invert selection. And that'll select all the other components. And now it's easy just to right click and hide those components, giving us this new display state firing pin. So the next display state I want to create is due to with the head. So I'll just make the default display state active, and we'll right click and add a new display state. Rename that head. So with this display state we can use our right to left selection tool. We'll actually select the components in depth and the components that cross the window boundary that I've just done. So with these now selected, we can apply a transparency to these components by again right clicking, and we can apply a changed transparency. Now this doesn't depict what you may want this model to look like, however it's just giving you the option to use if you want. So we're going to add a new display state, and we're going to make our default display state active once again. Right click and add display state. Now with this one we're going to rename it body. Now if you didn't know, renaming quickly can be easily done by highlighting and selecting F2. Now we can look at changing some component display modes. If we select a component, say the hosel lock main body, we can actually modify its display mode by choosing hidden lines removed. And we can do that in the display pane over here. So it's just this column, and all we have to do is select, and rather than having default display, we can change it to, say, hidden lines visible, like so. So they're all outlined like that. Now we'll apply that same display mode to the hose cap, hidden lines visible. We want the locking ring, which I believe is, yeah, here we are, a bit further down, and the plate. Last but not least, we can use display states in configurations which work together to support variations in an assembly. First, we need to activate our default display state, and we can actually create a new configuration by right-clicking Add Configuration. And we'll name that Rotate, and OK. Now this will create a new display state, which we can rename to, say, Mate. Now if we return to our Feature Manager design tree, up in the filter here, we can type in Handle. And that'll actually filter out a mate that we want to suppress within inside this configuration. So we right click and suppress. So now with that mate suppress, we can actually move this handle to here, which will be associated with this new display state and configuration that we've created. Now, although the display states and configurations are listed separately by default, we can connect them by using the Link Display States to Configurations checkbox down the bottom here. Now by selecting it, new display states are added to active configurations and only appear when that configuration is selected. So we can just show an example of that. With that ticked, with this configuration selected, we can see all these display states that we actually created with this configuration. Now, if we cleared the Link Display States to configuration, new display states are added and available to all configurations, though by default a display state is linked to each configuration. The next thing I want to show you is how to create alternative appearances of the same design. So we can create a new display state, so I'll just make this configuration active, and with this default display state active we can create a new display state. I'll just rename that to Appearances. Okay, so using our display pane up here beside our feature tree, we can see the appearance column, which is this one here. And you'll see a number of triangles which are associated with each of these components. And what these triangles mean, if we have a look at the hosel lock twist lock, we can see a white triangle atop the other triangle that's a different color. And that component is this one here. What that white triangle is telling us is that that appearance has been applied at component level, or top level assembly. And the lower triangle means that it has an appearance applied at part level. So if we wanted, we can override the top level assembly appearance in any subassembly like this one, the tactical firing pin, just by right mouse button clicking on the component within inside the subassembly in the display pane, and we can choose clear override or clear all top level overrides. Now I just want to clarify what each of those mean. Clear override, this one here, it clears this configuration's display state, while clear all top level overrides will clear all configurations display states. Now we're going to choose for this example clear override. Now if we have a look, we can see that the hosel lock twist lock white triangle that was at component level has now disappeared, and it's resorted back to its part level appearance. And if we have a look in the graphics area, we can see the same thing, which is good. Now if we want, we can apply more appearances to our model by means of applying an appearance at top level assembly to various components. So if we wanted, we can actually copy an appearance of a component that we like. So with this new appearance that we've just received, we can right click and we can say copy appearance. Now it's just a matter of selecting the components we want this appearance to be applied to at component level. So we're going to select the hose cap and we're going to select the locking ring here. And all we have to do is paste the appearance, which will paste it in the graphics area, and we can see that it has a component level appearance applied in the appearance column here. Now I want to talk about the order in which an appearance can be applied. We can use another copy, so what we'll do is right click and copy, but this time we're going to actually apply it directly to a component, say this bottom one here. So we can say paste. Now you'll notice a selection box come up. Now this selection box is in hierarchy with component at the top, which is this one icon here, followed by face, then feature, then body, and finally part. Now I'll just apply it to component level, like so. And this will also apply a component level appearance in our appearance column in the display pane. Now what I want to show you next is how to apply an appearance in a number of ways and at different levels. Now by selecting the appearance button, this one found in the heads up toolbar, the appearance property manager appears on the left and the task pane expands from the right. Now we can actually remove a component's appearance here by selecting our component, for an example this handle, which will populate this group box here. And what we can do is we can actually remove the appearance from component level. So we'll just go ahead and we can do that now. Okay, so that's resorted back to its part level appearance, which we can see again in the appearance column here. So we're looking pretty good now, but I want to go a bit further and apply more appearances. Now we can actually apply a textured appearance by selecting the faces of, say, this hosel lock body. Now with those selected, we can now push the appearance button up here. And we can have a look to the right in our task pane. So all we have to do is we can select appearances and rubber and texture. So when I select the textured rubber, it should apply it directly to the faces that we've selected. And if we have a look in our property manager to the left, it's applied a default color already. So it's up to us now to apply it to a display state at part level. So I've gone ahead and I've already created a display state at the part level, and I've called it rubber. So we can just apply it to that one like so, and OK. Now you'll notice that the graphics area has not updated. However, if we open up the hosel lock main body, like so, we can see that the rubber display state has that appearance located like so. So if we go back to our assembly, all we have to do is right click on the component or in the feature tree and go to the properties of that component. Now it's here where we can say display state specific properties. Now we want this configuration and the display state appearances to look at the rubber display state at part level. So we'll OK that, and then we have it. It populates that surface that we have selected previously. Now we have real view graphics turned on, which gives us this shinier look, but if we wanted to turn it off, we can do so just by going up to the heads up toolbar and selecting real view graphics. That'll give us a plainer look. It depends what you want to see. Okay, now I want to apply that same appearance to the handle here, but I want to show you one further step. So I just want to turn the real view graphics on. And what we can do is we'll just remove the component level appearance of this here. So we can just select our appearances, select our component, and remove appearance, and take it back to that part level appearance. Now I'll just go around and I'll select the faces we want to apply that same texture to, like so. And we can do exactly what we did before. Select the appearance button and go into texture, textured rubber. Now we're going to apply that at a specified display state and select the rubber display state that I've already created earlier. Now before we move on, actually I'll OK that. And this one is already directed to its display state in the properties of rubber at part level. Okay, so if I want, we can actually edit that appearance. We can see this sort of grip appearance like so. So if we want, we can edit that appearance by going into mapping. Now we have a couple of options. We have a mapping style, which is defaulted to planar mapping, which applies, which SolidWorks applies automatically. We can change that if we want by using any of these other options like spherical mapping. But what I want to show you is we can actually rotate our texture as well. As you can see, as I move this bar here, it rotates our texture however what direction we want, like so. So we'll OK that. Okay, so we're about ready to now turn this into a render. Now, some things you might want to think about is how you want to display this. Now, a good way to display this component twice is to insert it into an assembly. So you can get one portion of it standing up and another portion of it lying down. Now, if you want to get the lying down appearance, we might need to apply a plane. So we can actually apply a plane that we'll use for it so it can be lying down, like so. We'll OK that. Now I'm going to apply another plane. We'll just apply it to this face for it standing up. And we'll coincide those. Okay, so now we are ready to insert this into a new assembly. And OK. Now we'll just make sure we have our real view graphics turned on, which it is. So it's good. Now we can apply another component of the same, like so. Now we'll just go ahead and we'll mate the two together. So to make this component here look like it's lying on its side. So we'll mate those planes together and flip that, like so. Okay, so it's pretty good. Now we can actually just rotate our model round, just get an isometric view. Rotate our model round, drag this so it's in a good position for our image. It's probably something like that, which we'll do. That looks pretty good. Okay, so next thing we can do is we can add a camera. Now I'll just go ahead and I'll just fix this first. There we go. Now to add a camera, we go into the display manager here and go to lights, scenes and camera. And we'll just right click camera and add camera. Alright, so it brings up two windows. Now the first window on our left is the actual window that has the camera. And the next one on the right is what the camera is looking at. So I'm just going to expand my depth of field option. And the first option I want to look at is the size of the camera. Now it's set to 50mm standard, which is what we will use, but I just want to show you what a 24mm wide would look like. So if we just zoom in, we can see that our perspective of this far component here looks like it's stretched way in the background. And this one's our main attention in the foreground here. So if we were to do the opposite of that and select our 200mm zoom, we can see that the two components actually appear to be similar sized. That's because that camera is zooming so far in and it's narrowing the field of view. So what we're going to do is let's select the 35mm, change my mind, and we're going to zoom in and use this option here. Okay, so you can rotate around in the left here, but you can also move your components on the right. So say maybe we want to pan, we can pan it around. We can also rotate as well, whatever you like. So before we do any movement or selection to fit it in our frame, we're just going to have a look at the depth of field. Now the focus by selection, we want it to focus on maybe not this one so much, we want to focus on this face here. So it's just a matter of selecting the face, if I can. Just go ahead and I'll select that midpoint there. Okay, so now it's just a matter of changing the f-stops, which is this plane here and this plane at the back here. It's actually set quite well, but if you want to adjust it, you can just go to the f-stop and you can close them or expand them. So what that means is it's going to start becoming in focus around this point, be in focus here, and then start fading away to give us a nice bokeh in the background. Might just narrow that up a little bit, like so. Alright, now that we've chosen our camera, we've added a depth of field, we can actually now move this around the frame so it's fitting nicely in our frame how we want. So I'm just going to do a bit of fiddling. If you're a keen photographer, you'll know the thirds of a camera. And you pretty much break your picture into three. So you have one line going down here, and you have another line going down here to break into three. You have another horizontal line going across this way, and the same again here. So I'm trying to make our heads be in the thirds here. So that looks reasonably okay. I won't play around with it too much. And we'll move on and we'll okay that. Alright, so now it's up to us to apply a scene to our background. So if I just use our spacebar and the camera, we can now apply a scene like so. And we're just going to use our scenes and we're going to expand that and use our basic scene. We'll use Backdrop Studio Room, drag and drop, and applies our backdrop here. Now if we want, we can actually edit our scene. So right click on our scene here and edit. And if we wanted, we can just play around with this floor here. So we can see we have floor reflections on, which is nice. And that'll only be on if you have your view settings set correctly up here. So what we'll do, we'll apply that floor to a selected plane, like the plane we've created earlier. For this one, we'll select it to be plane 3. Okay, so that brings the floor right up to where it's meant to actually be. Now, if we wanted, we can flip it like so, but that's actually in the right orientation. And we can actually offset it as well if we wanted. We can drag it down and up. We'll just leave it on 0 for this example. Okay. So let's go and view what we've created already, this render. So to do that, we'll go into our command manager at the top, render tools, and we'll just do a preview window. It's looking for a couple of decals. I'll just go ahead and I'll just find those. Sorry about this. Here's bricks. Spray. Okay. Now it'll take a little bit to make this preview window. One thing, if you start playing around with the lights, which we will do, we'll just have a little tweak of the lights, the longer the render will take. So the more lights you start playing with, obviously longer it will take. So we're looking at our render here. It's looking not too bad. I just actually want to adjust some of the light on this face here of this other component. So what we can do is we can go back and we can edit our scene. We'll go into the Advanced tab here. And it's here where we can rotate the environment rotation. So you'll notice these white spots around our model. What I want is to rotate them so they are on the correct orientation. Somewhere like that, actually, that was nice. Like so. Okay, so that just gives us a little bit more light on our head here. So it looks like the light's coming down from this direction. So what we can do is we can also adjust the illumination if we want. So we can adjust the background brightness. We'll just drop it back a fraction to maybe 0.8. And the rendering brightness, we'll just increase that to 1.2. Like so. And the seam reflection, we'll just increase that to about 5. Okay, so this is just giving you some options of what you can do. It's not the greatest render, I know, but we'll okay that. And if we want, we'll just go into our lights folder, and we have a couple of directions that we can adjust. Now we can right click and we can say off in the SolidWorks, which is this window here, or we could say on in PhotoView, which is here. So let's go ahead and turn that on. We can see the shadows now appearing. So that's probably not a bad one to have. Seeing as we've got a lot of light here, and a lot of light here, we can have the reflection or the shadow going in this direction. We can see the reflection here nicely as well. So those are some of the things you can start playing with when you're working with renders. There's a lot more fiddly bits that you can do, but when you're ready to do a final render, all you'll do is go into the command manager at the top and select Final Render. That's where you can save your image and use it like so. So that actually brings us to the end of this webinar. I just want to say thank you for attending, and future webinars we're going to be doing a SolidWorks in your industry series, which will start in the next probably next week. And if you want to get any more information, just go to our website, innovasystems.co.uk, or you can email us through support@innovasystems.uk. Thank you.